Alright, I skipped ahead two of them, but I'm coming back for the last one. Treasury Financial Manual, Volume 1, Part 6, Chapter 5000, Withholding District, Columbia, State, City, County Income or Employment Taxes. Chapter prescribes the instruction of the withholding state, city, of the county income tax of the agreement that has been reached between the city, city, county, and the Secretary of the Treasury. Section 510, scope of the applicable agreements between the Secretary of the State, City of the country, between counties, between the federal, how federal agencies withhold the income and employ the employment taxes for the compensation of federal employees of the armed force members. See Title 31 CFR Part 215. Include Appendix 1, the list of state with the entry of the agreement, the effect of the date of the agreement, the designate of the state tax for the receipt of the inquiries, include with the Appendix 2 of the list, city with the counties enter with the agreements for the effect of the date of the agreement, the type of the withheld of the tax for each of the state or county, the designated city, county tax office, the receipt of the inquiries, Appendix 3, and include the list of states, cities, and counties other than the standard agreements. Section 15, Authority, Title 5, U.S. Code 5517, Executive Order 1197, June 2nd, 1979, provided withhold state and income tax for the compensation of federal employees, member of the armed forces, with agreement is when an agreement is made between secretary and proper state official. To comply with Title 5 U.S. Standard Code 5516, 47 D.C. Code 15862, Executive Order 1199-7, June 22nd, 1977, the Secretary of the Official of the District of Columbia entered an agreement with withholding District of Columbia income tax from the compensation of federal employees of armed forces members. Title 5 U.S. Standard Code 5520, Executive Order 1199-7 for June 22nd, 1977, and authorized Secretary to make for the arrangement of the proper official for the eligible state, city, county, withholding city, county with the income of the employee tax, federal employee with the compensation code, federal regulation, Title 31 CFR Part 2, 815, governs withholding state with the county tax with respect to the requirements of making an agreement to contain the tax and standard agreement. Section 5020 of the terms of definition following terms apply with the Treasury Financial Manual, Treasury Financial Glossary. Agency, executive agency with the military departments and the U.S. Postal Service in addition with the city, the county with the holding purposes only the elements of the judicial branch. City, any general local government which, 1, is a classified municipality with the United States Bureau of Consensus of the township. 2, a B, town or township which is determination Secretary of Treasury. 3, 1, powers and performs forms comparable to those associated with the municipalities. 2, is so closely settled. 3, contains its boundaries incorporated in place with defining the United States Bureau of Consensus. 2, within the political boundaries of 500 more persons regularly employed all agencies of the federal government. City incomes, employment tax, any form of tax which under a city ordinance, one collection is provided and imposed the employee with general utility withhold some of the pay of the employees making the returns of the sum and the designated city official of the department instrumental. 2, the duties of the withhold generally impose the payment of the compensation earned with the jurisdiction city within case of the employment who generally regularly place employment is within jurisdiction whether the tax described the income, wage, payroll, earnings, outcome, and lights, occupational lights, otherwise immaterial. Compensation applied with an employee of the agency, member of the armed forces, wages defined in 26 U.S. Standard Code 3401A. Regulation is therefore county is any local government which classified in the County Bureau of Census within political boundaries within 500 or more people regularly employed by all agents of federal government. County income and employment taxes, any form of found taxes which the under of the county state ordinance 1 collection provided with the employer generally duty of withholding some of the paid employees making return some of the designated county officers department and instrumentality. 2, the duty of withholding generally imposed of the payment of compensation earned with the jurisdiction of the county of the case by employees who regularly place employment is with the jurisdiction where the tax described on income, wage, payroll, earnings, occupational license, otherwise material. District of Columbia income tax imposed under Title 147 of the District of Columbia Code, Chapter 15, Subchapter 2. Employee for the purpose of state income tax withholding all employees of the agency other than members of the armed forces, city of the county income employment tax within 1 employees or agency. 2, members of the National Guard participant exercise performing duties under Title 32 U.S. Code 502. Member of the Ready Reserve participating scheduled drills training period serving on the active duty training and it's under Title 2 in the U.S. Code 270A. Terms do not include retired personnel, pensioners, annuitants, similar benefits of the federal government who are not performing active civilian service person receiving remuneration of services with a contract fee basis. or an employee's purpose for the District of Columbia income tax withholding. Employee with defined in Title 7 of 47 of the District of Columbia Code 1551 CZ. Member of the Armed Forces. One individual for any active duty status within regular and receiving the components of the Army, Navy, the Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. 2 members of the National Guard with participating extra the performing duties on Title 32 U.S. Code 502. Members of the Ready Reserve while participating in scheduled drill training period with serving on active duty or for training under Title 10 U.S. Code 101-47. Ordinance and ordinance order resolution similar to instrument duly adopted or approved of the city of the county in accordance with the Constitution and statute of the state, which is located whether the force of law in which within such city of the county. Regular place of federal employment, the official duty station in any other place for the employment, the actual normally other than travel, the temporary duty staff of the perform service in respect of the resident, secretary of the treasurer, official agent, assistant secretary of the designee, state territory, possession, commonwealth of the United States, the District of Columbia, state income tax, any form of tax of which the state in the statute 1 collects is provided in either by imposing the employers generally duly with its whole sum, holding some of the compensation of the employees making returns for the such sums of the state, or granting employees generally authority to withhold some of the compensation of the employees if an employee voluntarily elects to have sums withheld. The duty withhold generally imposed, the authority withhold generally granted with respect to the compensation of employees who are residents of such a state. Section 5025, severance pay, federal employees' compensation, subject withholding statement of state, county income, and employment tax, including severance pay. According to the Title 5 U.S. Code 5595, is paid with the former employee, severance pay with the remaining unpaid with the death of the former employee is not subject withholding upon payment of survivors. Section 5030, Administrative Agreements, Agency Responsibility, 503010, Head of Designee of the agency must comply with the provision agreement of the state law, cities, council, county, ordinance, regulations, directly concerning with the withholding tax and filing returns, paying tax. The agency should consult with the tax authorities obtaining the forms and instruction agencies are withheld. City, county, income and employment tax on those for the city within counties identified with appendix 2 and 3. E-commerce division will consult with when the agencies are required to withhold tax not identified with appendix 2 of this chapter eligible withholding. 50-30-20, reciprocal agreements between state with the modified requirement of withholding state income tax. Agreements generally relieve the non-resident employer of the tax liability of the state with which an employer will also relieve the employer duty withhold such tax. To comply with the Treasury state withholding agreement, the agency must conform with withholding provisions of reciprocal agreement of 50-30-30 withholding agency must use the same designated officer employed with the withholding state with the city of the county income employment the taxes with withholding federal taxes when required. State, city, county agencies will provide appropriate authorities name the designation federal officers employees will perform withholding duties. Section 50-30-40, notification of compliance request the secretary agency heads with the furnished report on compliance provision and agreement any of the information connected with the administrative agreement. 50-35, withholding requirement state tax, withholding state tax, withholding requirement agency employee with the are subject to the tax with regular place of the federal employment is within public duty boundaries of the state as entered in the agreement. Section 50-35-20, City and County Tax Withholding. City and County Tax Withholding require that the agency and employee who are subject to the tax, one who's regularly paid with federal employment in the city of the county, enter within an agreement to the residents of the city or county. 50-35-30, regular place of federal employment, generally designated official duty station. Federal employees report regularly to perform their duties and keep the federal employment for regularly performing the duties of the place where they are off the off-duty station. This jurisdiction is within the employees regularly performing the duties considered regular place of federal employment. 50-35-40, service performed outside of the city and county. Many city and county ordinances provide with withholding will be paid for the compensation paid service performed only with the city and county. The case for the provisions provide only non-resident city of the counties. Employees affected with the provision will perform on the part of the service outside of the city and the county away from the regular place of employment. They must complete with a withholding certificate to estimate the percentage of the annual compensation service performed outside of the city and the county. So withholdings may reduce the according and in absence of the self-certification tax must be withheld based on employees' entire compensation. To avoid large numbers of withholding actions where only moderate differences between the employee with the annual compensation estimated percent paid for services performed in city or county exists, the agency should reduce withholdings but only when an employee performs 25% more services outside of the city or county. FS Form 7311, the Employees Withholding Certificate, Local Tax, the City and County, Appendix 4, certain days, these instructions, subsection 504040. And for more information, FS Form 7311. Alright, 5350, withholding method, amount of state, city, and county income of the employment tax withheld for the compensation employed with a member of armed forces must maintain a minimum appropriate tax required withheld. And you may accomplish withholding one or more of the following methods based on the applicable tax withholding rate specified the state, city, county instruction based on any of the other percentage of formula method, and by calculating fixed amount deducted for each pay period of the compensating to the employee member of the armed forces. Section 5040, tax withholding certificates. To 504010, withholding certificate requirement. Each agency may require the employee to complete with withholding certificate as based properly withhold the state and local tax. Certificate should specify the employee subject to the tax employed with the residency, regular pay with employment exemption and allowance, if applicable, if any, out of the state with the employee consigned with the city with the county tax withheld. The supervisor of the designated employee shall verify the withholding certificate has been properly prepared. Any agency may rely on the withholding certificate information left if the contrary to information already held in the agency, the certificate will remain in effect until the supersede of the new certificate prepared by the employee. Alright, 504020, submission of the non-submission withholding certificate complete with the employee with the giving agency information properly withhold the tax. If the employee does not furnish withholding certificate requested by agency withhold the maximum level applicable to the employee's annual compensation. Latter provision does not apply to the employee who may opt out with voluntary withhold. In the case of failure to submit with the withholding certificate, refusal of the withholding option available to an employee. 504030 forms to be used. The agency may use the withholding exemption certificate furnished state, city, council. Document provides all of the required information. Does not agency certificate approved with Treasury. 504040 FS Form 7311, employees withholding certificate, local tax agencies may use the FS Form 7311, local tax authority does not furnish for the appropriate certificate may require that the agency produce the FS Form 7311 their own use. As revisions of the form must be approved with the advance required with the Treasury Financial Management Manual, Volume 1, Part 1, Chapter 2000. However, the overprint of the forms does not require the clearance from Treasury obtained. Copy of the DOD Form 2058 State Legal Residence Certificate for our website. Section 504050, information state, city, counties, agency must furnish the completed withhold certificates required of the tax authority withholding the tax. 5045, military withholding. 504510, basic withholding, basis for withholding when a state made with arrangement with the Secretary of State income tax withheld for the compensation member of the armed forces based on state legal residency. Local tax will be withheld. Compensation one member of the National Guard participating in exercise performing duty under Title 32 U.S. Code 502. The members of the Ready Reserve participant in scheduled drill trainings serving active duty and training under Title 10 U.S. Code 10.14.7. Local taxing judge jurisdiction has made agreement with Secretary. 504520, certification of legal residence agency with the DOD Form 2058 state legal residence certificate and determine the state legal residence for the purpose of withholding record change the state legal residency. Notify the state change legal residency according to terms of agreement. Section 5050, accounting withheld taxes. Agency should record the amount of the withheld each pay period for the compensation of the employee of the members or members of the armed forces for the individual earnings bureaucrats. Agency should determine the total amount withheld for each period of the operation of the payroll paid with corrective the deposit of the X6275 withheld state local taxes pending the payment of the tax authority. Agencies may maintaining appropriate internal subsidiary record records to show 1, the amounts withheld with each tax class, 2, the breakdown of total taxes withheld from each tax authority. Section 5055, errors made with the private period. Pay period over the current calendar year will be corrected for the employers if still by the agency payroll. Corrections are to be made adjusting the deduction current pay period with amount sufficient to offset the error with the withheld tax and net pay for the employee. If error occur in the prior calendar of the year of the employee is no longer paid on the payroll, may make no adjustment. Or Section 5060 of the payments withheld tax. The timing of the payments basic provision Treasury agreement that each of the agency will comply with the withholding requirements of the state, city, and county tax law. Therefore, each agency must observe the payment requirements bi-weekly, monthly, and quarterly of state, city, county tax law currently in effect. However, the payment will not be made frequently with the required state, city, county with more frequently than the payroll paid agency. 50-60-20 payment identification. Checks will be issued to the disbursing office with pay in the same form 1166. The voucher schedule payment to the officer approve of the voucher. For more information, use the same form 1166. See Treasury Financial Manual Volume 1, Part 4, Part Chapter 3000. Related tax backs and payment documents prescribed in the state, city, of the counties, or accompanying with the check for the state, of the cities, counties, and their collection agencies. A collection agent, if used in the same form 1166, the copy of the tax payment document, consider the basic voucher for the payment. Other voucher for the word taxes should be entered the voucher number to column in form 1166. Section 5065, voluntary withholding. Statute 5065-10, statutory election. Statutory state taxes statute that provides voluntary withholding. Agency withholds state taxes only from the employees, member of the armed forces who elect such withholding. 5065-20, regulation providing voluntary allotments. Office of Personal Management Regulations provide Title 5 CFR 5550-351 provide voluntary payroll deduction. State of the District of Columbia local income pay employment tax from the salary federal employee who have legal obligation to pay. Whether or not Treasury has withhold agreement of the tax jurisdiction agency may also refer to the Federal Personal Manual Supplement number 9902, May 1st, 1981. 50-65-30, accounting voluntary withholding. Agencies deposit amount voluntary withhold deposit X 6275 with withheld state local taxes account with prescribed in section 5050. Or section 507010, the annual weighted tax information returns. Annual weighted tax information furnished for taxes for must comply with the Privacy Act of 1974, codified. As records maintained with the individual records maintained on individuals if the agency does not obtain prior to written consent on an employee that has not published the routine with the Federal Register agency furnished waive the tax information under this section only. The tax authorities whether the Secretary has entered into the agreements appendix 2 and 3. Information returned with the consent with the name and the address, social security, wages as defined in Title 26 U.S. Standard Code 341A of the Internal Revenue Code amount of the tax withheld any, if any. 50-70-10A, disclosure of the state, so the indicate the arrangement with the state of the agency to provide the indicator of the information with respect to these employees. If they have one subject mandatory withholding, 2 may elect without withholding state law. 50-70-10B, the disclosure of the city, the county's agency's agreement with the city county with the provided indicated that information with respect to the employee if they are subject 1 mandatory with withholding city and the council with the may be subject to the mandatory withholding because they are not residents not employed with the state of the city county located whether or not they have opted the voluntary withholding. Section 50-65. 50-70-10, notice for the routine use. Each agency must publish the routine use the Federal Register comply with the Privacy Act of 1974 indicated that information subsection disclosed within each of the city, state, cities authorized circumstances with which the disclosure is made. 50-70-10D, additional disclosure inspection records. Agencies not required with the Treasury determine of the Treasury withholding agreements provide additional information more with the frequent wage and the excess information returned state, city, and county tax authorities. That is an outline in section to admit any inspection audit payroll records state, city, and county tax authorities. 50-70-20 exemption certificate employed with the board otherwise subject to the mandatory withholding pursuant to the agreement is between the Secretary of the applicable state, city, county authority may certify indicating that they are not subject to tax. In such case, the agency may provide the designated official state, city, county imposing tax information concerning employee with who claim the exempt from the tax. Such information will include the name, social security number, the claim basis for exemption. Each agency must determine the basis of the exemption from the tax acceptable to the law. Agency shall ensure the compliance requirement with the appropriate tax exemption certificates. And section 50-70-30, notice for the employees' agency forms include withholding exemption certificate will comply with the Privacy Act of 1974. When state and city and county form, each agency must provide the employee from which the information solicited the Privacy Act notice, either applicable form or separate sheet of paper, suggested statement files. Following information provided comply with the Privacy Act of 1974, Public Law 93-79. Social Security number is required with the authority, Executive Order 93-97, and provide taxpayer identification of the information required under the provision Title 5 U.S. Code 55-16, 55-17, 55-20 for the purpose of implementing federal agreement in city, state, and county relating withholding city, county income and employee with the tax to comply with the state law, municipal and county ordinance. Information provided with the may disclose with the state and city, county officials to ensure the taxpayer account has been properly credited for the amounts withheld. Failure to discover the information request may affect the determination of the accuracy of the amount withheld. Context. Department of Treasury Bureau Official Services Payment Management. E-commerce division, Landover, Maryland. And that was Chapter 5000, Withholding District, Columbia, State, City, County Income Tax, Income or Employment Tax, Volume 1, Part 6, Chapter 5000. That completes Volume 1.